Captain Jiho Kang stood on the bridge of the horizon's edge, watching the massive space station grow larger through the viewing window. Nexus Prime was the center of galactic power, a structure so huge it could be seen from millions of kilometers away. It looked like a giant metal flower floating in the darkness of space, with dozens of arms reaching out in all directions. "We're being hailed, Captain," said the communications officer. Her voice was tight with worry. "Put them through," Jiho replied. He straightened his uniform and kept his face calm, even though his heart was beating faster than normal. A face appeared on the main screen. It belonged to a Veltarn, one of the oldest and most powerful species in the galaxy. The creature had 4 eyes arranged in a square pattern and skin that looked like polished blue stone. "Earth vessel, you will dock at Port 17. Your delegation is expected in the council chamber in 1 hour. Do not be late." The transmission ended before Jiho could respond. "Friendly as always," muttered Lieutenant Minho from his station. Jiho said nothing. He had been dealing with the galactic powers for 10 years now, and he knew better than to show his feelings. The other species already thought humans were too emotional, too quick to anger. Every word and action was watched and judged. Down in the docking bay, Ambassador Yuna Park was preparing herself mentally for what was coming. She had received a private message 3 days ago from a contact inside the council. The message was simple and terrifying. They're going to make demands. Impossible demands. "Be ready." Dr. Hana Song joined her at the airlock. Hana was Earth's chief expert on alien cultures, and she had been studying the council's behavior patterns for months. Something had changed recently. The council had become more aggressive, more demanding. Trade routes that Earth had used for years were suddenly closed. Human colonies on the edge of the solar system were being watched by foreign ships. "And now this sudden summons, do you think they'll actually do it?" Hana asked quietly. "The restrictions?" Yuna nodded slowly. "They're scared of us. I've seen it in their eyes during every meeting. They smile and talk about cooperation, but underneath they're terrified. Why? We've followed every rule. We've never started a conflict. We've been model citizens for 50 years. "That's exactly why," Yuna said. "We're too good at everything. Our technology grows too fast. Our people adapt too quickly. We make them feel old and slow." The walk from the docking bay to the council chamber took 20 minutes. The hallways of Nexus Prime were built for species of all different sizes, so the ceilings were very high and the corridors were very wide. Aliens of every shape and size passed by them. Some walked on legs, some floated, some crawled. The galaxy was full of diversity, but humans were still considered the newcomers, the children who needed to be controlled. The council chamber was a massive circular room with seats arranged in rising tiers. 6 species held the seats of power. The Veltharn Empire sat at the highest position, their representatives looking down at everyone else. Next to them were the insectoid Kresh, the energy beings called the Luminar, the plant-like Verdi, the massive turtle-like Stoneholds, and the crystalline Shardmind Collective. Ambassador Yuna took her place in the center of the room. Above her, the 6 powers looked down like judges at a trial. "Humans of Earth," began the lead Veltharn representative. His voice was deep and echoed through the chamber. "You have been members of the galactic community for 50 standard cycles. In that time, we have welcomed you, traded with you, and taught you the ways of civilized species." Yuna felt her stomach tighten. This was not going to be good. However, the Veltharn continued. "The Council has become concerned about certain developments. Your military expansion continues at an alarming rate. Your technology advances in ways that threaten the stability of established systems. Your people show tendencies toward violence and aggression that we can no longer ignore." "That's not true," Yuna said firmly. "We have not started a single conflict in 50 years. Our military is purely defensive." "Defensive?" A Kresh representative clicked its mandibles together in what might have been laughter. "You have 300 warships. That is more than species twice your age. Why does Earth need such force?" "Because the galaxy is dangerous," Yuna replied. "Because there are pirates and raiders. Because we have a right to defend ourselves." "That is precisely the attitude we find troubling," said a Luminar, its voice sounding like music. "You see threats everywhere. You prepare for war constantly. This is not the way of civilized beings." The lead Veltharn raised one of his 4 hands for silence. "The Council has made a decision. To ensure galactic peace and to protect Earth from its own aggressive nature, we require the following actions. Earth must reduce its military fleet by 80% within 60 standard days. All colonies beyond Mars must be placed under joint council oversight. Earth's weapons research programs must be open to council inspection. And Earth must accept peacekeeping forces in the Sol system to ensure compliance. The chamber fell silent. Una felt like she had been punched in the stomach. They weren't asking. They were demanding Earth's surrender. And if we refuse? Una asked, her voice steady despite the anger rising in her chest. Then the Council will have no choice but to implement these measures by force, the Veltarn said coldly. For your own good and the good of the galaxy, you're threatening us with war if we don't disarm ourselves? Una couldn't keep the disbelief out of her voice now. We are offering you protection, corrected the Stonehold's representative, its rocky face impossible to read. You are young and do not understand the dangers of unchecked growth. Many species before you have destroyed themselves with their own weapons. We will not allow that to happen to Earth. How generous, Una said, and this time she couldn't hide the sarcasm. You have 30 standard days to respond, the Veltarn said. The Council expects Earth's cooperation. This session is ended. Back on the horizon's edge, Captain Jiho received the report from Ambassador Una with growing anger. Around him, the bridge crew sat in stunned silence as they heard the Council's demands. They want us defenseless, Lieutenant Minho said quietly. They want us weak. Dr. Hana was reviewing data on her tablet. I've been analyzing Council fleet movements for the past month. They've been positioning ships near Jupiter, dozens of them. They were preparing for this. They knew we might refuse. Jiho looked at her. How many ships? At least 200 that we can detect. Probably more hiding behind the moons. They're going to attack us, Minho said. Whether we agree or not, they're going to attack us. Jiho turned to look at Earth through the viewing window. His home planet was billions of kilometers away, but he could picture it in his mind. Blue and green and beautiful, a world that had survived wars and disasters and had finally reached out to the stars, hoping to find friends. Instead, they found masters who wanted to put them in chains. Send a secure transmission to Earth Defense Command, Jiho ordered. Tell them everything. Let them know the Council has made their move. Yes, sir, the communications officer replied. As the ship began its journey back to Earth, none of them knew that their message would trigger a decision that had been prepared for 50 years. A decision that would shake the entire galaxy and reveal the truth that humanity had been hiding since their very first day among the stars. Earth had been playing a very long game, and now finally it was time to show their hand. Admiral Dongyun Cho sat in the underground command center deep beneath Sol. The room was filled with screens showing every corner of the solar system. Officers worked quietly at their stations, tracking thousands of signals and movements that most people on Earth didn't even know existed. The message from the horizon's edge had arrived 1 hour ago. Now the entire military leadership of Earth was gathering for an emergency meeting. Some were in the room physically. Others appeared as holograms projected from bases on Mars, the Moon, and secret stations scattered throughout the solar system. They finally did it, said General Taiyang Xin. He was an old man now with gray hair and tired eyes. But those eyes were sharp and missed nothing. 50 years. We knew this day would come. Tell me the numbers, Admiral Dongyun said calmly. Taiyang pulled up a holographic display. The Council thinks we have 300 warships. They think we have basic weapons and shields. They think our fastest ships can barely reach half the speed of light. And the reality? 4,200 ships ready for combat. Another 1,000 in final construction stages. Quantum torpedoes that can punch through any shield the Council has. Gravity drives that make us 3 times faster than their best vessels. And weapon systems they haven't even dreamed of yet. The room fell silent as the officers absorbed this information. Even though they all knew Earth had been building in secret, seeing the actual numbers was still impressive. A hologram flickered to life. It showed a woman with short black hair and intense eyes. Bora Lee was not officially part of the military. Her job title was simply consultant, but everyone in the room knew she ran Earth's most secret intelligence operations. I have news from inside the Council, Bora said without greeting. I've been monitoring their classified communications for 3 years. I finally cracked their highest security level last month, and Admiral Dongyun leaned forward. 50 years ago, when we first made contact with the galaxy, we went through a series of tests. They wanted to see if we were ready to join the galactic community. Combat simulations, technology assessments, cultural evaluations. Do you know what we scored on the combat simulations? No, Dongyun admitted. Those records were sealed by the first contact team. We passed every single test with perfect scores. Not good scores. Perfect scores. We destroyed their virtual fleets in minutes. We adapted to every scenario they threw at us. We showed tactical thinking they had never seen before. Bora's face was grim. It terrified them. Professor Taiyang nodded slowly. That explains the message we received. What message? Asked one of the younger officers. Taiyang pulled up another file, one of the oldest in Earth's archives. During first contact, we encountered a dying species called the Kelhari. They were being wiped out by a disease and only a few of their ships remained. Their captain gave us a warning before they passed away. The screen showed text in English translated from an alien language. The words were simple but chilling. Hide your strength or become a target. The Council fears competition. They have destroyed 7 rising civilizations in the past 1,000 years, always legally, always with good reasons, but always permanently. If you show them how strong you truly are, they will find a way to eliminate you. Be patient. Be careful. Pretend to be weak until you are strong enough that they cannot destroy you even if they try. The room was silent as everyone read the message. We took that warning seriously, Taiyang continued. The World Assembly made a decision. We would join the galaxy, but we would lie about our capabilities. We would show them only 30% of our true military strength. We would act grateful for their technology, even though we were already developing better versions. We would play the role of eager students who needed guidance from wise teachers. And they believed it? Asked an officer. Why wouldn't they? Bora replied. They wanted to believe it. They wanted to see us as children who needed their protection. It made them feel powerful and important. Every species has an ego, and the Council's ego is enormous. Admiral Dongyun stood and walked to a large screen showing the solar system. While they were watching our 300 registered ships flying around, patrolling trade routes and doing military exercises, we were building the real fleet. Hidden bases on asteroids, shipyards on the dark side of moons, construction facilities in the Kuiper Belt where no one ever looks. For 50 years we've been preparing for this exact moment. But why? Asked a young officer who had only joined the service a few years ago. If we were strong enough to fight them from the beginning, why wait? Why let them push us around? Taiyang smiled sadly. Because, young man, there's a difference between being strong enough to win a battle and being strong enough to survive what comes after. 50 years ago, if we had shown our full strength, they would have united against us completely. Every species would have seen us as a threat. They would have quarantined Earth, cut us off from all trade, maybe even destroyed us from orbit. We weren't ready for that. But now we are, Dongyun said firmly. Now we have allies we don't know about yet. We've been secretly trading advanced technology with smaller species who are also tired of council control. We've built relationships with merchant guilds and independent colonies. We've spread the truth about the council's crimes through carefully leaked information. The galaxy is not united anymore. There are cracks in the council's power, and we're about to drive a wedge into those cracks. Bora pulled up more data. The council fleet positioning confirms they plan to enforce their demands whether we agree or not. They have 800 ships gathering near Jupiter. Their commanders think this will be easy. They expect us to surrender or to put up a weak fight that they can crush in a few hours. Let them think that, Dongyun said. How long until the fleet is in position? 5 days, replied an intelligence officer. They're moving slowly on purpose. They want us to see them coming. They want us to be scared. The admiral turned to face the entire room. Send the word. Operation Revelation begins now. Move all hidden fleets into position. Power up every defense platform. Bring the gravity well generators online. And send a message to all Earth forces everywhere, no more hiding. No more pretending. No more holding back. Around the solar system, in dark places where no one had been looking, things began to wake up. Asteroid bases opened like metal flowers, revealing ships that had been waiting in silence for decades. Hidden shipyards on forgotten moons powered up their systems. Stations that had appeared on no maps suddenly began broadcasting their positions. In the Kuiper Belt, Captain Nari Huang stood on the bridge of the Silent Thunder, a carrier ship so advanced that it made council vessels look like toys. She had been waiting for this moment for 7 years. Around her ship, 300 others were powering up their engines. All ships report ready. her tactical officer said. Good, Nari replied. Time to stop pretending. Time to show them what humans really are. Back in the command center, Admiral Donghyun was composing a message. It would be sent to the council in response to their ultimatum. The message was short and simple. To the Galactic Council, we have received your demands. After careful consideration, Earth's answer is no. We will not disarm. We will not surrender our sovereignty. We will not submit to your control. We have been patient. We have been peaceful. We have followed your rules for 50 years. But we will not be slaves. If you want to enforce your ultimatum, come and try. Come and see what we really are. Come and learn why you should have left us alone. The message was sent. The die was cast. Across Earth, people watched the news and wondered what would happen next. But in the military command centers, in the hidden bases, in the thousands of ships now moving into position, everyone knew exactly what would happen next. The galaxy was about to discover that humanity had been holding back, and now they were done pretending. Commander Nari Huang watched the Council fleet approaching on her tactical display. 800 ships moving in a tight formation, their weapons powered up and shields glowing with energy. They looked impressive and powerful, like a wall of metal and fire moving through space. They're not even trying to hide, said Lieutenant Sora Kim from her tactical station. They want us to see them. They think we'll panic. Let them think that, Nari replied calmly. The silent thunder was hiding behind one of Saturn's smaller moons, completely invisible to Council sensors. Around her, 300 other human ships waited in perfect silence. They had been practicing this moment for years. The Council fleet commander was a Veltharn named Keth. He sat on his command throne aboard the massive battleship Eternal Justice, feeling confident and pleased with himself. This would be an easy victory. The humans would see his fleet and surrender immediately. If they were stupid enough to fight, his 800 ships would crush their 300 in less than an hour. Either way, by the end of the day, Earth would be under Council control. Sir, we're approaching Saturn's orbit, reported his sensor officer. Good, Keth said. Send a message to the human forces. Tell them they have 1 hour to power down their weapons and prepare to be boarded. Tell them resistance is futile. The message was sent. No response came back. Keth frowned. Are they receiving our transmission? Yes, sir. Their communications are active. They're just not responding. Arrogant children, Keth muttered. Fine, if they want to play games, we'll teach them a lesson. All ships battle formation. Prepare to engage. The Council fleet spread out, forming a massive net that could surround and destroy any enemy. Their shields were at maximum power. Their weapons were charged and ready. They moved forward with the confidence of predators approaching weak prey. That's when everything changed. Across Saturn's orbit, space itself seemed to ripple and shift. One moment there was nothing. The next moment there were ships, thousands of them. They appeared from nowhere, materializing like ghosts becoming solid. Stealth fields that had hidden them for hours suddenly dropped, revealing the true size of Earth's fleet. On the Eternal Justice, alarms started screaming. The sensor officer's voice was high with panic. Sir, multiple contacts. Thousands of contacts. They're everywhere. Keth stared at his tactical display in disbelief. The screen was covered with red dots representing enemy ships. There weren't 300. There were more than 4,000. They surrounded his fleet completely, forming a sphere of warships that enclosed the Council forces like a cage. Impossible, Keth whispered. Where did they come from? On the silent thunder, Commander Nari smiled. All ships, you are weapons free. Show them what we've been building. The human fleet opened fire, and the Council forces learned what real terror felt like. Human weapons were different from anything the Council had seen before. Quantum torpedoes didn't just hit their targets. They phased through shields as if the shields weren't even there. Gravity cannons grabbed ships and crushed them like a giant invisible hand squeezing metal cans. Particle beams moved faster than Council ships could dodge, cutting through armor like a hot knife through butter. But it wasn't just the weapons. It was the way humans fought. Council species had been at peace for so long that their military tactics were old and predictable. They flew in formations that looked impressive but were easy to target. They followed rules of engagement that made battles slow and ceremonial. They had turned war into a kind of dance with moves everyone knew. Humans didn't dance. They hunted. Lieutenant Minho Choi led his fighter squadron through the chaos with deadly precision. His ship was small and fast, equipped with weapons that could punch holes in ships 50 times its size. Behind him, 30 other fighters moved in perfect coordination, like a school of fish or a flock of birds, each one knowing exactly where the others were without needing to communicate. "Target the carrier on the left," Minho ordered. "Hit the engines first, then the weapons systems." His squadron dove in, moving so fast that the Council ships couldn't track them. They fired their weapons with perfect accuracy, each shot hitting exactly where it needed to. The carrier's engines exploded in brilliant flashes of light. Without power, the massive ship began to drift helplessly. "Target destroyed," Minho reported. "Moving to next target." Council pilots tried to intercept them, but it was useless. Human pilots could handle forces that would kill other species. They could spin and turn and change direction in ways that seemed to break the laws of physics. Their ships were faster and more maneuverable than anything the Council had. Back on the Eternal Justice, Keth was trying desperately to organize a defense. But his forces were falling apart. Ships were exploding all around him. Entire battle groups were going dark as human weapons tore through them. His carefully planned formation had turned into chaos in less than 10 minutes. "All ships retreat," Keth ordered. "Fall back to Jupiter. We need to regroup." But retreating was just as dangerous as staying. Human ships were everywhere. Every direction led to more enemies, more weapons, more death. The Council fleet tried to break through the encirclement, but wherever they went, human forces were waiting. Commander Nari watched the battle from her command center. The tactical display showed the complete picture of what was happening. The Council fleet was being systematically destroyed. Not quickly, not with overwhelming force, but with careful precision. Human ships targeted specific systems on enemy vessels: engines, weapons, communications. They disabled ships rather than destroying them when possible. "We're not here to commit genocide," Nari said to her crew. "We're here to send a message. A very clear message." Lieutenant Sora monitored the enemy communications. "Sir, we're picking up transmissions from the Council fleet. They're calling for help. They're telling their command that they're being massacred." "Let them talk," Nari replied. "Let the whole galaxy hear what's happening here." The battle lasted 3 hours. By the end, the Council fleet was broken. 200 ships had been completely destroyed. 400 more were disabled and drifting in space, their crews alive but their vessels dead. The remaining 200 had managed to escape, fleeing back toward Council space with their shields failing and their hulls damaged. The human fleet had lost 23 ships. 23 out of more than 4,000. Admiral Dongyun watched the battle results from Earth's command center. Around him, officers were cheering and celebrating, but the Admiral's face was serious and calm. "Compile the battle footage," he ordered. "Every angle, every weapon system, every tactical maneuver." "I want a complete record, sir," asked a confused officer. "Why would we show them what we can do?" "Because this is only the beginning," Donghyun replied. "We need them to understand. We need every species in the galaxy to see this and know the truth. We've been holding back for 50 years. We've been pretending to be weak. No more pretending." The footage was compiled and prepared. Then, in one simultaneous broadcast, it was sent to every corner of the galaxy. Every species, every planet, every station received the same message. It showed the battle in complete detail. It showed human ships appearing from nowhere. It showed human weapons tearing through Council forces. It showed the complete and total defeat of a fleet that was supposed to be unstoppable. And with the footage came a message, written in every known galactic language. "This is 50% of what we can do. We have been patient. We have been peaceful. We have followed your rules for 50 years. But we will not surrender. We will not be controlled. Test us further at your own risk. We held back before. We refuse to hold back any longer." Across the galaxy, the reactions were immediate and intense. Some species were terrified. Some were excited. Some were confused. But everyone understood one thing clearly. Humanity was not what they had seemed to be. The children had grown up, and they were not asking for permission anymore. In the Council chambers on Nexus Prime, the 6 ruling species sat in shocked silence as they watched the battle footage. They had believed humanity was weak. They had believed Earth could be easily controlled. They had been completely and totally wrong. The galaxy would never be the same again. Ambassador Una Park stood in Earth's main diplomatic center, watching hundreds of communication channels light up at once. The footage of the Saturn battle had been broadcast 3 days ago. and now the entire galaxy was trying to contact Earth. Some wanted to threaten. Some wanted to negotiate. Some wanted to join. "We're receiving a transmission from the Heron Republic," said the communications officer. "They want to talk about an alliance." "Put them through," Una replied. She had barely slept in 3 days, but her mind was sharp and focused. This was what they had been preparing for. The screen showed a heron diplomat, a species that looked like tall, thin lizards with golden scales. "Ambassador Park, my government wishes to congratulate Earth on your impressive victory. We have long felt that the Council's control was too strong. We would like to discuss mutual cooperation." Una smiled carefully. "We would be happy to talk, Ambassador. Send your proposals to our diplomatic team." As soon as that call ended, another began. A representative from the Meklar Unity, a machine species that the Council had been suppressing for decades. Then a call from the Thorn Collective, then the Ashwin Confederation, then a dozen more. All across the galaxy, younger species and smaller civilizations were seeing an opportunity. For hundreds of years, the Council had controlled everything: trade routes, technology sharing, military strength. Now, for the first time, someone had challenged that control and won. The carefully maintained order was starting to crack. Captain Jiho Kang was traveling through the outer regions of the galaxy with a small, fast ship. His mission was secret but crucial. He was making contact with species that had been oppressed by the Council, bringing them proof of what Earth had done and offering them a choice. His current destination was a small mining colony run by the Corvan people. The Corvans were bear-like creatures covered in thick fur. They were strong workers but had little political power. The Council took most of their resources and gave them almost nothing in return. Jiho met with the Corvan leader in a small, dark meeting room. The leader's name was Groth, and his old eyes were tired but intelligent. "Why should we trust humans?" Groth asked bluntly. "You defeated one Council fleet. They have hundreds more. Eventually they will crush you, and anyone who helped you will be punished." Jiho pulled up a holographic display. "That's what they want everyone to think. But here's what we discovered." He showed Groth classified Council documents that Earth's intelligence had stolen. "The Council's power is an illusion. They rule through fear and reputation, not through actual strength. Most of their ships are old and poorly maintained. Their weapons technology hasn't improved in 200 years. They've been coasting on past achievements while younger species like ours have been advancing." Groth studied the documents carefully. "If this is true, why has no one challenged them before?" "Because no one had the strength and the proof at the same time," Jiho replied. "We've been preparing for 50 years. We built our strength in secret, and now we're sharing what we learned. The Council is not invincible. They can be defeated, but only if we stand together." "And what do you want from us?" Groth asked suspiciously. "Nothing right now," Jiho said. "Just wait. Watch what happens next. When the time comes, we'll ask you to make a choice. Join us or stay with the Council. But whatever you choose, we won't force you. That's the difference between us and them." Similar conversations were happening across the galaxy. Earth's agents were spreading the truth about the Council's weaknesses. They were building a network of potential allies. They were planting seeds that would grow into revolution. Meanwhile, on Earth, Junho Ryu was doing something equally important. Junho was a cyber warfare specialist, one of the best hackers humanity had ever produced. He sat in a dark room surrounded by screens, his fingers moving rapidly across holographic keyboards. "I'm in," he muttered to himself. "Council Central Communications Network. Full access." For weeks, Junho had been working to crack the Council's most secure systems. Now he was inside, and what he found was shocking. He discovered secret files showing how the Council had manipulated smaller species for centuries. False flag operations, assassinations, economic sabotage. Wars started deliberately to keep certain species weak and dependent, but the most damaging information was the Council's future plans. Documents showing they intended to impose even stricter controls on all species, not just Earth. They wanted to create a permanent hierarchy with themselves at the top forever. Any species that grew too powerful would be adjusted through various means: economic pressure, political manipulation, or military force if necessary. Junho copied everything. Terabytes of data, proof of centuries of crimes. Then he did something that would change everything. He released it all. Not just to Earth, but to every major news network in the galaxy. To every government. To every independent journalist and information broker. Within hours, the galaxy was in chaos. Species that had trusted the Council felt betrayed. Governments that had supported Council policies were facing angry citizens demanding answers. The carefully controlled narrative that the Council had maintained for so long was falling apart. The Council tried to respond. They called emergency meetings. They issued statements denying the leaked documents were real. But the evidence was too detailed, too specific. Everyone could see it was genuine. 3 Council member species secretly contacted Earth: the Luminar, the Verdi, and even some faction of the Kresh. They didn't want to fight anymore. They wanted to negotiate. They were afraid of what would happen if this conflict continued. Ambassador Yuna met with their representatives in a neutral space station. The meeting was tense and difficult. "Your actions have destabilized the entire galaxy," said the Luminar representative, its voice humming with barely controlled anger. "Do you understand what you've done?" "Yes," Yuna replied calmly. "We've exposed the truth. The Council has been corrupt for centuries. It's time for change." "Change brings chaos," said the Verdi ambassador, its plant-like body rustling with agitation. "Chaos brings war. War brings suffering." "Then don't make war," Yuna said simply. "Join us instead. Help us build something better. A true democracy where all species have equal voice, not a dictatorship disguised as a council." "The Veltharn will never agree," said the Kresh representative. "They will fight to the end to maintain their power, and they are preparing their full armada." "We know," Yuna said. "We've been tracking their fleet movements. 10,000 ships gathering at the galactic core. They think that's enough to crush us, isn't it?" asked the Luminar. Yuna smiled. "The battle at Saturn was us using half our strength. We still have more to show, but we don't want to fight if we don't have to. We're offering you a choice. Stand with the old order and fall with it, or join the new order and help us build it." The 3 representatives looked at each other. They were being asked to betray their own government, to turn against allies they had worked with for thousands of years, but they had also seen the leaked documents. They knew the truth now. The council they had served was not what they thought it was. "We need time to discuss this with our governments," the Verdi said finally. "You have 5 days," Yuna replied. "After that, the final confrontation begins. Choose wisely." As the representatives left, Dr. Hana Song entered the room. She had been analyzing ancient ruins on a dead planet at the edge of the galaxy. What she had found was important enough to bring directly to Yuna. "I found proof," Hana said, her voice shaking with excitement and horror. "The Kelhari were right. The Council has destroyed 7 rising civilizations in the past. I found records carved in stone, hidden in ruins that are thousands of years old. Each civilization showed too much promise, too much power. So the Council eliminated them, always with legal justification, always claiming they were dangerous. But the truth is in these ruins. Can you prove it?" Yuna asked. "I can broadcast it during the next battle," Hana replied. "Show everyone in the galaxy at once. The Council won't be able to deny it with ancient evidence staring them in the face." Yuna nodded slowly. "Then we have everything we need. The truth, the allies, the strength. Now we just need to finish what we started." The galaxy held its breath, waiting to see what would happen next. The Veltharn Empire was gathering its full might, determined to crush the human rebellion and restore order. Earth was preparing for the largest battle in galactic history, and caught in between were thousands of species trying to decide which side to join. The old order was dying. Something new was being born, and the final confrontation would determine what shape the galaxy would take for thousands of years to come. Admiral Donghyun Cho stood on the bridge of the Earth's Pride, the largest warship humanity had ever built. Around him, stretching into the darkness of space in every direction, were 5,000 human vessels. This was Earth's full fleet, no longer hiding, no longer pretending. Ahead of them, approaching from the galactic core, was the Council's ultimate response. 10,000 warships led by the Veltharn Empire's most powerful vessels. It was the largest military force the galaxy had seen in 1,000 years. "They want to make an example of us," said Colonel Taeyang Shin, who stood beside the admiral. The old strategist had come out of retirement for this final battle. "They want every species in the galaxy to see what happens when someone challenges their authority. Then let's give them a show they'll never forget," Dongyun replied calmly. Dr. Hana Song was in the communication center preparing her broadcast. She had connected to every major network in the galaxy, When the battle began, everyone would be watching, and she would make sure they saw more than just fighting. The two fleets moved closer to each other. The distance between them shrank from millions of kilometers to thousands to hundreds. Weapons powered up on both sides. Shields glowed with energy. The moment of truth was approaching. The Veltharn fleet commander sent a final message. Humans of Earth, you have one last chance to surrender. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. Your rebellion ends today. Admiral Donghyun sent a simple response. No. The battle began. The Council fleet attacked first, launching thousands of missiles and energy weapons. The barrage was designed to overwhelm and destroy. They expected human shields to fail under such massive assault. They expected panic and chaos. Instead, human ships activated their gravity well generators. Space itself seemed to twist and bend around the Earth fleet. The Council's weapons hit the gravity wells and were deflected, sent spinning off into empty space or back toward their own ships. It was like shooting at a mirror that bent reality itself. Now, Donghyun ordered. The human fleet responded with precision that shocked the Council forces, while the Council ships fired in massive, uncoordinated volleys. Human weapons targeted specific systems with surgical accuracy. Quantum torpedoes phased through shields and disabled engines. Gravity cannons grabbed ships and pulled them out of formation. Neural link fighter coordination meant that thousands of small craft moved like a single organism, flowing through enemy formations like water through cracks. But what truly shocked the Council was how humans fought. Council species had developed warfare into something almost ceremonial. Battles were fought at long range with careful maneuvering and predictable tactics. It was a way of limiting casualties and maintaining order. Humans didn't fight that way. They fought to win. Human ships dove straight into Council formations, breaking their neat lines into chaos. Fighters swarmed around capital ships like angry insects, too small and fast to hit easily but deadly in numbers. Larger human vessels used their superior speed to dictate engagement range, hitting the enemy from unexpected angles and then vanishing before return fire could land. Captain Nari Huang commanded a battle group of 300 ships. Her orders were to eliminate the Council's command vessels. She executed her mission with cold efficiency, targeting the largest enemy ships and systematically destroying their communications and control systems. Without coordination, the massive Council fleet began to fall apart into confused smaller groups. Lieutenant Minho Choi led his fighter squadron deep into enemy territory. His mission was considered almost suicidal: fly directly at the Veltharn flagship and destroy its main weapons. But Minho had trained for years for exactly this kind of operation. His squadron moved so fast that enemy sensors couldn't track them properly. They weaved between larger ships using the Council's own vessels as cover. When they reached the flagship, they hit it with everything they had. The flagship's main cannon exploded in a brilliant flash of light. The massive ship began to list to one side, wounded but not destroyed. Inside the Council command ship, chaos reigned. Officers shouted reports of ships being disabled, formations collapsing, systems failing. The Veltharn commander couldn't understand what was happening. They had twice as many ships as the humans. They should be winning easily. That's when Dr. Hana's broadcast began. On every screen in the galaxy, images appeared. Ancient ruins on dead planets, stone carvings showing advanced civilizations, and translations of the text carved in those stones. Hana's voice echoed across countless worlds. What you're watching now is not just a battle. It's the end of a lie. For thousands of years, the Galactic Council has maintained peace by suppressing anyone who grew too strong. 7 civilizations before humanity showed great promise. All 7 were destroyed by the Council through various means. We found the evidence. We found the proof. The Council is not keeping the peace. They are preventing competition. The broadcast showed the leaked documents Junho had stolen, the ancient ruins Hana had discovered, and testimony from species who had been suppressed for centuries. The evidence was overwhelming and undeniable. Admiral Donghyun watched the battle unfold. The Council fleet was losing badly. Human ships had disabled more than half the enemy vessels. The rest were trying to retreat but were surrounded. It would be easy to destroy them all. Easy to make the Council pay for 50 years of oppression. But that wasn't the plan. All ships cease fire, Donghyun ordered. Across the human fleet, weapons fell silent. The Council ships drifted in space, damaged but not destroyed, waiting for the final blow that would end them. Instead, something else happened. human engineers activated the Quantum Disruption Network, a device they had been building in secret for years. It was not a weapon designed to kill. It was designed to control. Energy waves spread out from hidden platforms throughout the battlefield. Every Council command ship simultaneously lost power. Their engines died. Their weapons went dark. Their shields vanished. They were completely helpless. But their life support remained active. Their communications still worked. They could see and hear everything, but they couldn't fight. This is Admiral Dong Yun Cho of Earth to all Council forces. The Admiral broadcast on all frequencies. Your ships are disabled. We could destroy you right now. Every single vessel. Every single crew. We have the power to do it. Silence fell across the battlefield. But we won't, Dong Yun continued. Because we're not here to commit genocide. We're not here to become the new tyrants. We're here to end tyranny. We held back our strength for 50 years not because we were weak, but because we were waiting for the right moment. We held back during this battle not because we couldn't win, but because winning isn't enough. We want to build something better. On the Veltharn flagship, the commander listened in stunned silence. The Galactic Council is over, Dong Yun said, but that doesn't mean the galaxy has to fall into chaos. We're proposing something new, a true democratic assembly where every species has equal voice, where decisions are made by majority vote, not by the oldest and strongest, where younger civilizations aren't suppressed but encouraged, where peace comes from mutual respect, not fear. Ambassador Yuna appeared on the broadcast beside the Admiral. To all species watching, you have a choice. Join us in building this new future or try to maintain the old order. But understand this, the old order is finished. It died today not because we destroyed it with weapons, but because everyone now knows the truth about what it really was. Across the galaxy, reactions were immediate. The 3 Council species who had been negotiating with Earth announced their support for the new assembly. Dozens of smaller species declared their allegiance to Earth's proposal. Even some Veltharn ships sent messages saying they would not fight to restore the old system. Within a week, the Galactic Council dissolved. Its member species had no choice. Public opinion had turned against them. The evidence of their crimes was too clear. Their military had been defeated. Their lies had been exposed. The new Galactic Assembly was formed with representatives from every willing species. Earth took a leading role but insisted on democratic principles. Every species, no matter how large or small, had one vote. Decisions required majority support. Military force would be used only for defense, never for suppression. Ambassador Yuna stood before the first meeting of the new assembly. Thousands of species were represented, gathering in a station built specifically for this purpose. She looked at all the different faces, all the different forms of life, and felt hope for the first time in years. We gather here not as masters and servants, Yuna said, but as equals. Humanity held back our strength for 50 years. We held back our weapons during the final battle. We held back because we understood something important. Real power isn't about how many ships you have or how strong your weapons are. Real power is knowing when to fight and when to show mercy, when to hide and when to reveal, when to take and when to give. She paused, letting her words sink in. The old council asked why humanity held back for so long. The answer is simple. We were waiting for them to give us a reason not to. We were waiting for the moment when we could change things, not just with force, but with truth. That moment has come. The galaxy is ours to shape together. Let's make it something worth defending.